welcome back to We Love the State. This is your host, Andy Coons. It's a pleasure to be here. Over to my far left is Ben DeYoung. How you doing, Ben?
Doing good. I had to break out my Palestine hat. I think it's a good headwear for this conversation, so looking forward to it.
Definitely. Well, we've got a very special guest, as you can see right in the middle there. We've got Dr. Michael Rectenwald. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you are associated with an organization or I don't know a lot about it. Did you start the AZAPAC?
Yes, I founded it. Yeah.
And this is the Anti-Zionist American Political Action Committee. Can you kind of walk me through how the story of that? How did that, where'd the idea come from? I mean, what was it like getting that organized?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I thought that at first we needed a party, Anti-Zionist America Party. But then I remember from, my experience with the Libertarian Party and then other third-party candidates trying to get on ballots, utterly impossible. So third parties are not viable in the United States, unfortunately. So I thought, well, if a party isn't the way to go, why not a PAC? Because a PAC can support any candidate of any party. And AZAPAC doesn't discriminate based on party. We don't care about party affiliation. What we care about is Zionist affiliation. And so we make it a principle that we will not support any candidates that take money from Israeli lobbies at all, and that have voted for or will vote for sending arms and money to Israel or any other foreign nation. But this is the most pressing situation, is the Israeli lobby, and it's controlling our political class entirely. In fact, we just saw Lauren Boebert slipped into the NDAA, a provision that says boycotting Israel is punishable now. And that, as I said on X, that to me is the beginning of the end of free speech if we let this stand. Because BDS is a free speech issue. It's also free commerce. People should be allowed to do with their money whatever they want.
Right.
Or they should be able to withhold money from whomever they want. It's called, free association and the free market, really. And so I took it upon myself to found this PAC in order to combat all this. We're looking at a complete Zio takeover of the U.S. government. This is a complete infiltration, and the gloves have come off, the mask has come off in the Trump administration, much to my chagrin. I should have known the extent to which Trump was effectively a Zionist operative, but it's become totally clear now. Of course, most of the Congress and Senate is the same. We're looking at, they passed a bill, maybe some of them didn't read it, that it includes this anti-BDS nonsense. And they've done so many things that we've seen so many signs of this Zio takeover of the U.S. political class that it's beyond belief. I mean, every day it's constant genuflections and scraping and groveling to Israel and anti-Semitism acts, and anti-Semitism groups, and he's established these anti-Semitism task force with what's his name, the black guy heading it. So
I don't remember. I don't remember who that is either.
The guy that the guy that was on Fox News all the time, or has been on what's his name? Anyway, this has been like a 7-8 months pro-Israel, pro, you know, Zionist administration, and uh, it's obscene. I mean, you see Trump endorsed Lindsey Graham, but is trying to get rid of Thomas Massey. I mean, this is unbelievable. It's one thing after another. I should try to catalog it all. I have written an essay that tries to catalog all of these indications that right now this administration, in particular, is like an organ of the Israeli government. We bombed Iran on demand. We funded and armed Israel on demand. Israel is bombing, I think, 9 countries in the last week. I mean, it's unbelievable, and there's nothing that is done. The United States is the only force that can stop this. And so I thought, if you're going to try to help the Palestinians, and this should have been done years ago, I know that, this kind of pact should have been founded years ago. I mean, the Zionists are very well organized. They have dozens of lobbies, dozens of PACs. They have all of this power. They organize very well. Why is the anti-Zionist movement unorganized? That's what struck me. And I looked for anti-Zionist organizations. There are none. I couldn't believe that I actually founded the first explicitly anti-Zionist organization in the political organization in the United States. It's stunning.
Have you gotten some support? I mean, I know that there's such a fear of being labeled as an anti-Semitic, but I wonder at this point now, like, if Israel has almost overplayed their hand, where I think, especially on the young people's, college campuses and the younger generation is definitely, I think, woken up to this capture. Yeah. But I just kind of wonder, is there, because I mean, PACs run on money, and money needs donors, and are donors willing to come forward now?
Yeah, we've had a good early indications of good funding. I mean, the money is coming in. People are supporting it. We need the big donors to come through. We need the Dan Bilzerians. We need the other moneyed anti-Zionist people to step forward. And we're working on that. And we need to get bigger media. I mean, I went on George Galloway's Mother of All Talk Shows or TV shows or whatever the hell it is. I went on, a number of other podcasts. I'm on your podcast. So, and we need to get bigger media. We need Tucker to pick it up. We're working on that. I've been on Tucker's show. I was on Tucker 3 times before he left Fox. And so he knows who I am. And it would be good to get back with him. I
can imagine him jumping right on this.
Yeah, what we need is 50 million Americans to give us $1 so that we can fight as AZAPAC. Because they're looking at they have billionaires funding their PAC.
Yeah.
And what we need is a mass movement of Americans just contributing $5 each, and we'll be able to compete with AIPAC then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, since you founded it, have you received any
death threats?
Yeah. Talk to me about that. Like, so what's some of the pushback that you've gotten? What are some of the struggles that you're dealing with now?
I haven't had any explicit death threats in response to this. I mean, I've had them already anyway. So far, it looks like the ADL is trying to ignore it. It looks like AIPAC is trying to ignore it. They don't want to give it publicity. So I don't even think they're going to say anything right now. If it becomes threatening, I think they'll start to speak.
Yeah. And I can imagine that's where you can start expecting the death threats to start on your end.
And, as to the things about calling us anti-Semites and Nazis and all that, this language, this is their fear tactic. It's the way to keep people in line is fear of reputational destruction, fear of loss of employment, fear of loss of this, that, and the other thing, debanking, and all that.
Very leftist tactics.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Uh, I think they're the masters of cancel culture, Zionists, and so I'm not surprised that I won't be surprised at anything that they might try. But right now, we're operating unmolested, more or less.
Yeah. Well, so I I don't want to sit here and say that I think that Israel was behind the Charlie Kirk assassination, because I don't. At this point in time, there's not nearly enough evidence to really push me in that direction. But what I will say is that there's enough weird things about it to where it was one of the first thoughts in my mind, and I think that kind of says something. There was the guy who immediately was like, "It was me. I shot him. Shoot me. Shoot me." Who turned out to be an Ashkenazi Jew who's been involved with other political events as well. He allegedly witnessed 9/11. First of all, what's he doing in the least Jewish state in the United States? But other than that, like,
and then there's the disappearing aircraft that took off from a airport only 2 miles away, owned by a major Zionist Jew
that hasn't moved in like 2
Well,
years.
they
Or
turned off the transponder and then disappeared.
so, like I said, like I don't think there's enough evidence to be like, boom, this is Israel. But I think the fact that I'm not nearly even remotely alone in this. I mean, as soon as it happened, Twitter X exploded in, was this Israel? Was Israel behind this? It shows how deeply APAC and Israel lobbies have grown their roots into our country, into our government, into our society. But then at the same time, and this is sort of the silver lining here, so many people are aware of that. And so I think that it's good that AZAPAC has been founded. I think you founded it at the right time, and not to disparage Charlie or any of the bad things that have happened recently, but it's like, it's almost like his death kind of works in our favor a little bit.
I was saying a few things about that. See, Netanyahu, of course, went on a U.S. media tour of the right-wing media, Fox, Newsmax, I don't know where else, but trying to claim Charlie as a Zionist martyr. And so, at the very least, they seek to benefit from this. So that doesn't mean they did it. I've said that I am I'm one of the people online who has not explicitly stated Israel did this, but I have said they're benefiting from it or trying to.
Yeah, it's that never let a good catastrophe go to waste.
Right.
Which is exactly what Lauren Boebert did with sneaking in that boycott thing.
Yeah, that was a real slippery,
that was slimy
move.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think we should reclaim Charlie as, regardless of whether he was killed by Israel, he's still a kind of a victim of Zionism, because they were pressuring him to shut up about the genocide. They were pressuring him to shut up about Epstein. He got threats, and from his Zionist supporters, funders. He said he was afraid for his life if he crossed Israel. He called Netanyahu a bully. He refused funds from Netanyahu, or Netanyahu can just pick up the phone and say to Miriam Adelson, give Talking Point USA more money, and he turned it down.
Yeah.
So there was some indications of his disaffection with Israel and the Zionist control. and he was starting to say things about it. So he did start noticing, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the impact that the Turning Point has on the younger generation, especially on the right side, if they were to lose that, they've already pretty much lost the left, the younger generation, and again, kind of not to go down this conspiratorial rabbit hole, but you always have to look at who benefits. And
Yeah.
it's without a doubt Israel benefits hand over fist with this because they can slide Ben Shapiro, and all of a sudden they control Turning Point, and so it is it's hard not to try to not to connect those dots because they're becoming more and more obvious. That Gray Zone article was just damning beyond belief,
Yeah,
and
it
I'm
was.
glad that they published that. I wish it was getting more traction. I'm not surprised it's not, but that's the kind of stuff where to Andy's point earlier, founding the Anti-Zionist PAC at this point is great timing, and I think it's only a matter of time before you become a real threat to AIPAC and the ADL, simply because I think Netanyahu's overplaying his hand.
Yeah,
He's making things so obvious that it's almost impossible. I think Dave Smith mentioned this. He's like on Rogan, where he's like, this is where it's not even worth debating whether whether they're controlling the government or whether they're erasing Palestinians, because it's so obvious to everybody. So now it's just all you can do is kind of argue around the edges, but the truth is out there.
Yeah, I think it's true. It is. I think the timing is right now. I wish we could have, the timing had been better earlier so that we could have prevented this genocide, which the United States has fully enabled and endorsed and run cover for politically, not just in the public sphere, but at the UN, vetoing everything that would stop the slaughter, vetoing the recent veto yesterday against, or voting no, I should say. They voted no in the General Assembly to recognize Palestine as a state. Endless capitulation and complete servitude to Israel has become too blatant for anybody who's awake not to recognize. Now, those who don't recognize it they're not seeing. They're just not seeing reality. I'm sorry. There's just too many indications that this is the case, and anybody that doesn't see it now doesn't want to or is incapable.
What do you think? What would be the turning point to really kind of sever that connection? I honestly think I think the Israel lobby has done a great job of kind of separating. Well, not separating, but kind of creating that Judeo-Christian terminology, because I think they've captured so much of the religious right. That's probably the people that I argue with the most are Christians.
Yeah,
who are still like, no,
so-called
Israel has
Christians.
a right. Yeah, so-called. The Israel has a right to defend themselves, and that talking point is like so overplayed. But I wonder at one point does the Christian Church in the United States wake up?
Well, the Methodists have. The Methodists.
Oh, have they?
Oh, yes. There are some churches that have. Methodists formally declared, that they would withdraw their, I think, funding. They owned some sort of shares in something in Israel, in Israeli company investments, that they pulled that. So there are some conscientious and Christian people out there that are seeing that this Zionism is not compatible with Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's the opposite of Christianity. There's nothing in the New Testament, and take the Sermon on the Mount. There's it isn't blessed are the bomb droppers and child killers.
Right.
It's blessed are the peacemakers, and everything in Zionism is antithetical to Christianity, and then of course the whole Christian Zionist narrative is a Zionist psyop to begin with. It was run on it started with the Schofield Bible. It actually started earlier than that with John Darby, but mostly with the Schofield Bible, they really solidified this notion that Christians must support the state of Israel no matter what it does, because it'll bring in the end times. Lunacy, trying to call God's hand, trying to accelerate the second coming, it's obscene. That people would use Christianity to this end, complete perversion and distortion, and actually a complete inversion of Christian values.
You're absolutely right. I mean, there's scripture that directly addresses this. In Romans 9, Paul talks about the like he. I'm going to paraphrase here, but somebody asks him about Israel, and he basically goes, "Listen, Israel is God's chosen people, but Israel is not a state. It's not a tribe or anything like that. You're an Israelite by faith, not by blood. That's in Romans 9.
Romans 9:6.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had to talk to some of my own family members about that. My mom in particular, if she's listening to this, hi mom. And I showed her that, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I see what you're saying now." And it's it's one of those things. It's really concerning as a Christian to see people go in and just twist and contort what Scripture says, and especially for something like this, especially to support a genocidal, like, extremist regime.
Yeah, a totally genocidal, murderous, child killing. Like Jesus said, "Let the children come unto me," not "Let the children come unto me so I can shoot them in the head."
Yeah,
that's not what it's about. I mean, I'm sorry, this is antithetical. This is the absolute opposite of Christianity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, luckily, I mean, like you said, with the Methodist,
and I'm a Christian as well, so I'm not. And interestingly, just as an aside, I remember I'm actually an evangelical Christian, and my minister, I thought, oh, I got to check this. He's not a Zionist. He's not a Christian Zionist. I have made sure of that. Mm-hmm. He said, I think what Israel's doing is an outrage. Absolutely. I don't support this. So I said, okay, I can stay in this church. Otherwise, I was out.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is I don't remember. It was a couple months ago when there was pastors that were actually being paid to preach against Tucker and Candace Owens, trying to condemn them from the pulpit. Mm-hmm. And it's just when you turn the church into a propaganda machine for a killing machine like the state of Israel, it's crazy that there was even a reception for that. That's literally a Judas scenario where you're literally getting paid in blood.
Exactly. Listen, these Palestinians are closer in kinship to Christ, genetically than the people who are killing them. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I'm not coming with the Khazarian theory or any of that. I mean, but there is no question that these people are. Look, this is Christ. This is God. Christ said, "Whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers, that's what you do to me." So they're killing Christ. I'm sorry. That's the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that they're also starting to. I just saw something on X the other day about the fact that they are destroying some of the Christian holy sites. I think this was a site where Moses received the 10 Commandments, and they're going to be building a new settlement, and they're going to level the place. And I think that may be what really turns and wakes Christians up if they are exposed to this, because it is. I mean, maybe not Judaism as a religion, but Zionism for sure. Yeah. They disdain Christianity. I mean, the horror stories of priests that get spit on over there that's a regular occurrence. Yeah. And I just that hopefully that will slowly filter down to some of the the Christians in the United States, where it's like it's the Muslims and the Christians in Palestine that were protecting these sites from destruction. Right. And the more that those sites are going to be leveled, because it's inevitable, that the outrage hopefully will spark a revolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, there's even have you guys seen the old videos from like 1920 or 1915 or whatever? Very, very, very old footage of Jerusalem, and there's Jews, Christians, and Muslims just going about their day. You know,
Exactly.
just
Exactly.
totally peaceful.
That's why I don't think it's Judaism per se.
Right.
I think Zionism has hijacked. It's a cult that has hijacked Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be one of those people that say, no, no, it's in Judaism all the way. Well, I mean, there is certain things in Judaism that I totally object to, the tribalism and so on and so
All
forth.
the
The kind of
blowjobs for babies and
Well, the
yeah,
teachings of the Talmud.
yeah.
yes, that's right, and the the supremacism and the ethnocentrism and the
Mm-hmm.
genocidal proclivities that are in the Old Testament that I think Jesus overthrew. I think he effectively overthrew this and said, "Look, your neighbor is not just the Jew; it's everybody." So, and you're supposed to love your neighbor. Your neighbor is not merely your tribesman. I mean, he made that very clear. It was anti-tribalistic all the way,
Mm-hmm. Your
and
citizenship is in heaven.
right, and there's neither Greek nor Jew. Paul says, and that means when you become a Christian, you're no longer a Jew.
Yeah, absolutely. So so kind of moving back to AZAPAC, you know,
Yeah.
it is what do you see, like assuming that everything falls into place, assuming everything goes the way that, you know, you'd like it to. I mean, is this something that you could see expanding into, you know, not just an anti-Zionist pack, but an anti-foreign influence pack?
Well, that we are an anti-foreign influence pack. We're making that clear. It's not just look. We don't want any country. Look, I've said this before. Just to make this clear, if we thought it was China or Mexico or the Saudi Arabia or some other country in totally controlling our political system, I would be against that.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't because they're Jews; it's because they are in control of our government. And regardless of who it is, I would be opposed to it. You know, for a good long time, I did think we were under sort of Chinese or communist Chinese infiltration. And there may be some truth to that to some extent, but it's not nearly at all equivalent or even close to the kind of influence and empowerment that Zionism has in the United States. China is, there's no question they spend soft money trying to influence U.S. politics, but they do it with foreign lobbies that are designated as foreign lobbies.
They're registered
With Pharaoh. So,
Yep.
whereas APAC is not, they've gotten away with this, even though everything they say has to do with policies toward Israel. Nothing else. They don't do with anything. They don't do with anything else. They have no other concerns. They're pro-Israel, pro-Israel, pro-Israel Zionist. Period. And that is a foreign agent. So they ought to be registered as a foreign agent. We know that we have to fight against them. J Street, Kufi, Christians United for Israel, who actually give more money than APAC. And a whole slew of others. I can't even, there's so many I can't really remember them all off the tip of my tongue. I could put it in Grok and it'll give me the answer right away. But the I'm kind of glad we've outsourced some of our memory to these AI. At least they can do that. I don't think they can create anything, but they can find data.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another story. But like I said, it wouldn't matter who it was controlling U.S. government. I would be opposed to it, and maybe I would have started a pact to that extent, to that effect. But this is the reality that we're dealing with, and this is the group that is threatening our rights. Mm-hmm. They're threatening our right to free speech. I believe they are also going to come after our Second Amendment, and because they need to disarm the United States to have complete control over it. I don't know what Israel is besides the country, but I do believe Israel is a network of Zionists across the world.
Well,
And
it's basically a state religion. It's the worship of the state of Israel.
yeah, exactly.
I've really enjoyed kind of seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker kind of slowly wake up to this. Do you see any other politicians in DC or any other voices that are turning? I mean, honestly, I think Charlie Kirk was,
Yeah.
but they're, I just wonder if we're going to get another. I mean, Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene are only two voices. I mean, you do have some voices on the left, but
Yeah.
they usually vote with funding for Israel,
Yeah.
or or at very least they maybe abstain. But do you see anyone else in DC kind of becoming awakened to this?
No, not at this time, and that's why we're going to try to get. We're going to look at the midterms and try to get anti or non-Zionist candidates in there. Try to reverse this in Congress by the steady increase of anti-Zionists in the government. I don't see. I mean, like AOC, she voted for the 500 million to the dome, saying it was defensive, but the dome is what allows, Israel to commit unmitigated crimes. And that's, so that the dome is not defensive. It's part of their military apparatus. It's a big part of it. Without it, I don't think they could go on these killing sprees with impunity.
How many in DC do you think are actually true believers? Maybe I lump maybe a Ted Cruz in there, or how many I think, or do you think are just either blackmailed or bought off?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the blackmail element is a little overstated generally. I think there's a couple factors. People can believe pretty much anything if it benefits them. So you can be a true believer while taking AZAPAC money and other Zionist lobby money and really believe what you're saying. And I think a good deal of them, especially on the right, like Cruz, like Lindsey Graham, like Randy Fine, the most disgusting of all. I think you can believe it. And Randy Fine is Jewish, so I think his allegiance is just that. But these others, I think, have bought into. They maybe use the Christian Zionism as a justification for what they're doing, and they think they can find biblical sourcing for their support, like Ted Cruz said on Tucker. I mean, that was just ridiculous. And I think there's fear, okay, because let's say they do control the political class, which is true. I think they also control money. They're terrified of these people. We're talking about the ruling class here. And you butt up against the ruling class, they're going to come at you. They're going to crush you. So that a lot of it is fear, not so much necessarily blackmail, fear of their retaliation. I mean, Charlie Kirk said that he was afraid of the retaliation. They're scary. Okay, so this is a very malicious group, and they'll do anything to you. So I think a lot of it's fear.
Well, I think that it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because if you can fund the good ones, and if you can see them kind of are willing to turn because they have that funding to kind of bolster them, it'll be interesting to see if that is enough, or if the blackmail does play a piece, then the funding isn't enough to get them to flip or to stand up for, to be America first.
Yeah.
Well,
that's another thing we would do is we would try to expose that. We stay very attuned to the findings there, should any come out, and we would use that to our advantage and use it against the candidates that are blackmailed. But like Trump has done everything in his power to keep it from being revealed. Calling it a Democrat hoax one day, the next day it's I mean, the story changed. I don't know how many times about the first we have all the files. We're going to release them. Then we're going to release something right now. Here's the first release, and a bunch of faux influencer MAGA retards went out with that. And then they went to, oh, there is no file, and then it's like, no, it's a Democrat hoax. I mean, this is unbelievable. It's a hoax, all right, but the hoax is being perpetrated by the administration at this point.
Yeah, that was one of the most Orwellian things to witness. Is going from we have the files to there are no files. Are we still talking about this Epstein guy? That was crazy.
And then it was a Democrat hoax. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, I don't know how legit the recent leak is with the the transmission between Epstein and Trump, and there's the drawing of a naked woman on that piece of paper, and everyone's saying it's Trump's signature, it's not Trump's signature. Listen, I don't know how real that piece of paper is, but if it is real, that is absolutely his signature. Everything makes sense if Trump is in those files.
Yeah.
Everything that's happened makes total sense. None of it makes sense if he's
especially
not.
his denials of the importance of it.
Mm-hmm.
And his attempt to just kind of squelch it. They send it to a judge, and who they know will say no, we can't release it. So they don't need any judges to determine this.
Yeah.
He's got full executive power to release every last shred of it.
Yeah.
Right now, he doesn't need judges to approve of it. That's nonsense. He
Yeah.
could release it right this minute.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the anger. So this is sort of me and Ben's whole shtick with this show is, we try to look and see what things are going to be like 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and looking at, and I've said this a lot recently, but man, everything happening, I feel like just strengthens my case. You have Trump, the quote unquote great white savior that was supposed to come in and drain the swamp, not draining the swamp, and then coming back a second time after almost getting assassinated. And
supposedly,
right, allegedly. And he's got so much momentum behind him. He's got so many people who are like, he's going to burn stuff down, and reform it in a better image, the way the founders wanted, or in a better, more libertarian image, or whatever,
right.
And then he goes in and none of that happens. And so you've got all this momentum that's just pent up with nowhere to go. Then you have the Israel lobby. You have these absolutely insane leftists, and there's no better way to describe them as they are stupid and they are insane. Committing acts of political violence. It's like they've never picked up a history book in their life, or the only ones that they have read were written by other freaking leftists, because none of these idiots know how Hitler came to power. None of them do. And they are speed running every single condition that was necessary for him to rise in the first place. And so my thought is, Trump was really the last olive branch that the sort of silent majority right wing was willing to offer to the left, and that olive branch has failed. And so now, especially after the death of Charlie Kirk, what we've been clearly told by the other side is that they're not willing to have a conversation. In fact, we kill the guys that are willing to have a conversation. And so now you've got a rapidly growing part of the country that is becoming aware of the Zionists and the Zionist influence on American politics and on the federal government. You have a tsunami of right-wing traditionalistic anger and fury that I think if it wasn't released by the Charlie Kirk assassination, it's going to be released very, very, very soon,
Yeah.
And we're going to get Hitler, And so,
Possibly, yeah.
and so it's, I mean, I don't see an off ramp other than that. You know, I don't see, I don't see everybody coming back to the table to talk things through. You know,
No.
um,
But
but
I got to say that I think this whole left is basically these are useful idiots, and they're orchestrated. I think a lot of them are paid,
mhm,
and the Soros branch of I call this domestic Zionism, actually.
mhm,
Uh, the domestic Zionism is the attempt to flood the borders, uh, incite racial tension, incite division, incite left-right paradigm division and squabbles and internecine warfare. And the right-wing Zionism, or the foreign policy Zionism, of course, is the unconditional support of Israel. So what these people are contributing to is domestic Zionism, I would call it. Now, our pack, just to be clear, we're not going to focus on domestic Zionism right now. we don't think it's the time, and I don't want to. We're trying to unite left and right over this one issue.
mhm,
Now, whether that's successful, I don't know. Dealing with the irrationality of the left, I mean, they're calling Charlie Kirk a Nazi.
yeah,
Okay, I mean, if they're calling Charlie Kirk a Nazi, I must be Goebbels. I mean, this is what they call me that, and my last name doesn't help. But it's incidental. Yeah, the left is they're just dancing like marionettes on a string, and I think the right is actually doing the same. I think this warfare between the two is orchestrated. It is not good for anti-Zionism because it focuses the energy and opposition to the left or to the right instead of to the top, which is the Zionist control. So I was dismayed by the responses. I woke up, I mean, the day that Charlie Kirk was shot. I saw a number of people talking this way on the right and left. The celebrations on the left, the sick statements, and then I saw recently some sicko said, you know, let's get Charlie Kirk's wife next. That's how
yep.
disgusting these people are. I mean,
There's
that
people
is
threatening his kids too.
unbelievable. These people are beyond deranged.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but their derangement is an infusion from somewhere. I don't believe it's organic. I think it's bizarre, and I think it's funded. And so that's your domestic Zionism.
Yeah, I mean, I whenever it comes to the deranged element to it, and I don't know if this is related to Zionism. I've always thought of it as, this is what happens when every major media outlet, whether it's Hollywood, radio, TV, music, when you vilify half the country and you say, hey, they voted Republican, that means that they're racist. They've been doing this, you know, and they haven't really been subtle about it for like 60
No, not at
years,
all.
you know?
Yeah, at least.
And when you continually turn up the temperature and say, hey, the worst possible thing that you could ever be is racist. And like that sentiment is stronger today than probably it's ever been.
Yeah,
Um, and me, I am a former leftist. I used to buy into that all the time, and it was actually Dave Smith that said something that and I always sound like a simp for Dave Smith, but he said war is worse than racism, and I was still a sort of left wing straggler whenever I heard him say that.
yeah,
And I remember my sort of leftoid brain kicked in, and I was like, "Well, that's preposterous." And so I started I started looking up the numbers of racially motivated murders committed in the 20th century, and there were about 4,500.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at the number of people that have died in just the wars that the United States have been involved with, and it's like 250 million.
At
And
least.
and so it's one of those where not only are those two things not comparable because of the vast difference in the numbers, but like you could almost say that racism is good compared to war. Like I would prefer to live next to David Duke than John McCain.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, racism is a right. You have a right not to like people, and
Yeah.
as long as you don't infringe their rights. That's why I support this back to the land movement. This
Mm-hmm.
white separatist group. I don't care if they're calling them, of course, white supremacists and white nationalists and all that. They're not really either of those.
Yeah.
They just are trying to form an enclave of white only people,
Mm-hmm.
and on
In the most
private
peaceful way possible.
yes, on private property, no
Mm-hmm.
less. Okay, so that should be a perfect right, and it is a perfect right. Of course, they're trying to make it illegal,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because you're not allowed to look after white self-interest at
Right.
all. Let's be real.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you have Jewish only communities across
Yes.
the United States. You have black only communities. I mean, there was a movement to start a black only city, which, listen, as somebody who is familiar with the history of the Tulsa race riots, like that's what the I just said I'm familiar with it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to get the name of the neighborhood wrong. I think it was the Northwood neighborhood in Tulsa. It was like the Black Wall Street of America. It was a black only community. They had black owned businesses, and this is back in the Jim Crow days.
Right.
This is back in the 10s and 20s. But you had the first black millionaires. You had black owned banks that would only give out loans to other black people, and you had a thriving community.
Yeah.
And they didn't use federal banknotes or anything like that. Like they had their own currency. They were thriving. They were doing amazing. And so, and we have race-based communities like that now for black people, and it's celebrated, and
right.
like we should celebrate that, like, as a human right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you want to associate only with blacks, that's your perfect right. If you want to create a private property society where there's only blacks, that's absolutely your perfect right. Nobody should infringe that right.
But if you're going to be against if you're going to be against that same sort of freedom and celebration for white people doing that, you better have a damn good reason, and nobody does.
Yeah, they're saying it's discrimination and all that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason why you should have to sell your property to somebody that the state can determine who you're allowed to associate with or sell property to. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Rectenwald, I cannot thank you enough for jumping on. I think this has been a fantastic conversation. If people want to get a hold of you, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on Twitter at WreckTheRegime, or they can find me at AZAPAC.com, AZA-PAC.com.
All right.
Or they can find me at Michael@MichaelRectenwald.com. That's my email that I'll answer mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely people go out and donate to AZAPAC. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that is something that needs to get off the ground sooner rather than later. The good it's going to do, and hopefully the traction that you're going to be able to achieve is so important today more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if we had 1,000 people contributing $5, that gets us somewhere. If you can contribute more, that would be great, of course. So we have 3 tiers that we put on the site: 50, 550, and 500. The personal individual limit is 5,000 per year, but you're certainly able. And we can't take any foreign donations. I should say that. Please don't do it. It costs us a nightmare. We have to extract the money, get it back to you, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But Americans should contribute to this. If you want your government back, this is the only organization that's fighting for you.
Yeah, I couldn't put that any better. So, Dr. Rectenwald, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. You were a fantastic guest, and I hope to have you on again soon.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Andy, and great to see you, Ben. Great to talk to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Ken.
All right, bye now.